Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com, here with another photo of the week and a look inside how I used the D7000 to capture this rock and roll photo of Nick Perry. If you didn't see the previous video that I did with Nick, shot at 8000 ISO with the D3S, click the photo that just popped up on the screen and it will take you to that video so you can see how it was done. Some of the comments I've been getting for the last photo that I edited of Nick, the one that was shot at 8000 ISO with the D3S, some people were saying that they don't think they'll ever be able to attain or capture an image like that because of the gear that I was using. And that, you know, is one of those knocks that you get for using better gear, that people say, well, I can never get to that good gear and I'll never be able to do that type of photo with, say, the D90 or the D7000 or things like that. But you know what? You can do it. It's not all the camera that's doing the work. A lot of it is the photographer, but, you know, part of it is the camera. So in this case, this is what this picture was shot at. It was shot at 1/320th of a second at f2.8, ISO 3200, using the 14-24 Nikon 2.8, shot at 14, but shot with a Nikon D7000. So anybody can own this camera. You know, you can get a D7000. It's $1,200. So there is a big difference between a $5,000 camera and a $1,200 camera. But look, I was able to capture this image, and this isn't even edited yet, where Nick jumped in the air. I didn't know this time that he was going to do that. He just got done a solo, and I guess he felt it, and he decided to jump. And I was ready with the D7000. There was a picture right after this where his leg was fully up and out that was even better, but the focus missed. In this one, we can zoom in and see that it's focused, it's locked right here. Honestly, wasn't ready for him to do that jump, and I think I was in continuous focus at the time. So the first photo was in focus, the second was slightly out, and the third one was back in. So I went with this first one, and this is a rock and roll shot. I planted myself right in the middle up front. I did have a 14-24 on, but again, that 14 is a, what is it, a 21 millimeters? You could do this with an 11-16 Tokina. You could do it with a 17-50 Sigma. Let me break down the settings here, what I was thinking at a rock show like this, because you guys can replicate or duplicate these settings that I used. 3/20th of a second. We know that's fast enough to freeze most action in general. 2.8, wide open. You're going to have a very hard time shooting a show if you don't have a 2.8 or better. A 35-1.8, a 50-1.8, 50-1.4, 70-200 2.8, and anything wider that's a 2.8. Sure, I push the good glass. If you want to get shots at concerts, you really are going to need to invest or get the better or faster glass, because you're really not going to... You know, I can only hear so many times that it's all the gear, but you know, sometimes you need to have the right tools to get the job done. So the tools allow you to get those images that you really want to capture, and now that you know how to capture them, they go hand in hand. Tools are important, and your ability is just as important. So 3200 ISO. This camera holds up pretty well there. I could have pushed it to 4000, but I think it starts getting on the edge right there when you go to 4000. So, you know, let's get into editing this photo. There's really not much to do to this. I'm not going to make it black and white. I'm definitely leaving it in color. I'm going to pump up my exposure just a little bit. Let's go with some contrast. You see how they had a fog machine. You see how it's hazy? The way that you cut through a fog machine, you pump up the contrast, or you bump up your black levels. It depends on how much fog is there. In this case, it's not too bad. I really like pumping up my contrast fully in here. Yeah, I'm not losing detail in my mind in this photo. I think I'm bringing the detail out. This is just too washed out, and bam, and boom, there you go. The contrast pumps it up. A little bit of clarity. I don't want to go too harsh, even though this image could actually handle it. See how sharp this is on Nick's brand new guitar? He made this. It's got a built-in pedal. That's what that light means when it's on. So this is his, it's called what, a Protostar? it's his brand of guitar. He made his own guitar, and they are for sale. They're really cool. So that's a little bit of change. Pump up the contrast, clarity, black levels. I'm really not going to touch. I'm not going fill light this time because, look, if I did the fill light and then did what I did to some of the other photos, it ends up being about the same. At least I think so. I mean, it's very similar. Let's see. Is it very similar? I keep going back and forth. I mean, I think you're introducing more noise when you do this. So I'm going to go back to my 8. Boom. Not really introducing more noise. So, honestly, either way, it's about the same. I'm not going to introduce the fill light into this. I'm going to even pull back on the blacks to 6 again. I'm going to put in some yellow because he looks a little cold up there. That's 2 yellow. And that's about close. Let's see what we do if we take out some magenta. I don't like adding the green tint. I like always pulling that out. It's funny, you can change the color of the lights depending on how you change your white balance and your tints. It's pretty cool. I'm going to undo this. I'm going to take out a little bit of pink. There we go. So he is frozen there. He is almost at the apex of his jump. The guitar is nice and sharp. His hands are nice and sharp. His feet, this is motion blur slightly because he's jumping. A little bit of motion blur. But he is sharp, and that is what I look for in photos. If the main subject is sharp, but the ancillary parts like the feet, the guitar, and things, well, the guitar is good to be sharp, but if the other things are there's slight motion, that's not a problem in my book. So this is this photo of the week, shot with a D7000 and a 14-24 2.8 Nikon. Anybody can do this. You see the settings that I used. Oh, and all right. People want to know focus points. They want to know metering modes. Okay, no metering mode, honestly, because I shot manual. If I was to meter, I would have at least spot metered on Nick, got a base setting, and then switched it to manual to get the feel for the show, because the lights weren't going to be too far off each time. You just need to tweak a little bit back and forth, and that becomes a feel for the photo, for the situation that you're in. It's not something that I can really teach, because when the lights change, if it goes into a brighter light, you obviously have to bump your shutter speed up to compensate for that. If it goes into, say, like a green or a blue, that's actually less light. It's not as bright, so you may have to pull back on your shutter speed and slow it down so that you can then, compensate for the new light. Where am I focusing? Well, I was in continuous focus. If I knew that he was going to jump, I probably would have gone into single focus, locked in on him on any part of his body, whether it's his chest or head, and then done a couple, 2-3 shots. In this case, I did 3 shots. I was in continuous focus, and luckily enough, the camera was quick enough to pick up the guitar in focus. So my focusing mode for continuous was 9-point, so that's 1 with the 9 boxes around it. So if the subject does move, it will track it slightly. So that's how I focused there. Most of the time at the shows, if the band is moving around quite a bit, I'm going to use the continuous focus. I don't like 3D focus tracking because, hey, that could focus on his foot when I really want to focus on his face. So I like to lock in my own type of focus, or focus around where I want it to be, and then shoot. That's why I don't like the 3D the 3D focus or the 39-point autofocus. I don't want to focus in on just those 39 points. I want to select around the 1 and then the 8. So I use the 9 focusing points in mine. I'm not sure how it is in the Canon. I think it's about the same. You can do the same effect. So that's my metering. If you really don't want to, you're not comfortable in manual, you better be spot metering on the subject, because if you get metering and it's on the light back here, we know the image is going to go like this. This is what happens if you're reading the lights in the background. And this is why you shoot in manual, because the lights aren't going to change too much in this area. So you want to be very careful. If you see something that says 2,000th of a second, you know it's too much. Your metering is way off. You need to make some changes and switch into manual. So I'm really happy with this photo. It captured a moment using the D7000, showing you that it can be done with any camera, as long as you're using the right settings and some better, faster glass, whether it's the Tokina 11-16 or one of those Sigma 17-50s. You can do this. You just have to anticipate the motion, anticipate what's going to happen, and just get a feel for what you're shooting, and you too can capture this stuff. So here he is, frozen in time at the top of his jump. Nick Perry from the band Sinai. Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com. See ya!